any number is sad for the people affected. But hundreds of Palestinians have been killed in the West Bank just this year. And several are killed every day. And others are wounded or chased off their land. So it's very disproportionate. Thousands of Palestinians in the West Bank and Jerusalem have been jailed, many of them without charge. Israel incorporates a British rule during the mandate that says you can arrest somebody for up to 6 months without a charge. This would be regarded as insanely dictatorial in the United States. But you can do that and you can renew it indefinitely. So many of the prisoners in Israeli jails have never been tried or convicted of any crime. And of course, if they do get to trial, the conviction rate is 99.7% for Palestinians. And on the opposite side, Jewish Israelis who commit crimes, and there certainly have been many, individual and collective, are rarely brought to trial, and when they do, get very minimal sentences. And so many of them have killed prisoners in cold blood on video now. Everything, war crimes are all on television now. And very few of them have been convicted or paid any major price. And sometimes they're heroes in right-wing Israeli society. So
the AR-15s?
Oh yeah. So the settlers are all armed. Some of them are army. Some of them are veterans and a kind of organized militia. Some of them are civilians who are just armed. You know, they have security people at all the settlements. So the person who's in charge of security for the West Bank is this right-wing fascist, Itamar Ben-Gvir. And he instituted this program of giving out AR-15s like lollipops. The U.S. has stopped exporting AR-15s to Israel, at least temporarily. But, you know, thousands of them are there already. And they're just handing them out to settlers. And, of course, these are the same weapons that are used in the United States for mass killings. Only the versions that are sold, given out in Israel, are fully automatic. Here, you know, it's not legal to sell fully automatic assault rifles, but they can be modified to be automatic. They're the full military version. So obviously the preparation is for a lot more Palestinians to be killed by the settlers in the West Bank. So I know you maybe have to leave. I'm not in a hurry. I don't know if there are more questions. I'm happy to work.
One more? Okay, Martha had her hand up.
I'd love to hear more about the role of the right-wing evangelical forces that are in play here. We've had the experience here of holding events like this and having them attended by people who opposed the fact that we were having them, and at least half the crowd, and certainly the loudest, were the evangelical Zionists.
So, you know, Christian Zionism has been an ideological trend within the Christian church since the 1800s. But like a lot of theological things, it was only sort of politicized and weaponized in the 70s and the 80s. You know, for instance, some of you know, I mean, abortion, there were lots of Christians that always opposed abortion, but it did not become a political movement until it was organized on behalf of the Republican Party in the 1970s and 80s. And so Christian Zionism existed, but it then was sort of activated and militarized by, you know, people who had an agenda to support evangelical Christianity for the United States and Zionism for Israel. And it didn't just happen. In other words, this was organized, and it's one of the ironies that the biggest evangelical organization that's predominantly pro-Israel is Christian United for Israel. And that's that John Hagee that spoke. Well, the idea of such an organization was floated in a book by David Brogg, who became their first executive director, who was a Jewish Zionist. And when CUFI was founded, it was primarily financed by pro-Israel money, and the first executive director was Jewish, not Christian. And to this day, on their board of directors, many key positions are held by Jewish supporters of Israel. So it's a kind of, you know, deal with the devil. In other words, Christian Zionists do actually believe in that eschatological story of, you know, the return of the Jews, the second coming, and so on. But they're also activated and financed in part by people who don't care about their agenda as long as they support Israel. So the irony of supporting people whose ideology is effectively anti-Semitic. In other words, their idea is that all the Jews, any Jews who don't convert to Christianity are going to be killed in the end of days. But, you know, the Zionists don't care because they are effectively supporting Israel, and the rest of it they view as nonsense. And that support for that trend within the Republican Party is becoming more and more prominent as people, as the Zionists in Israel and here have seen that they're losing more liberal and progressive public opinion. So more and more they decided the future of Israel politics in the United States is with the Republican Party and the evangelical Christian, because the liberals, even the Jewish liberals, are not reliable politically anymore. So Netanyahu's Likud party, which is effectively the Republican Party of Israel, is openly allied with the Republicans in the United States. Of course, that was vividly demonstrated when he spoke to the American Congress, the House, attacking a sitting Democratic president at the invitation of the Republicans. And that shows that, you know, the power of it. So that's their plan. That's their idea, is that their future political power in the United States is going to be Republican evangelical, and the liberal Jews are a lost cause.
We'll just do one last question. I know you really wanted to
I
ask.
just would like you to go back to the last quote from something I didn't have enough time to read it, but the King Commission.
Yeah, King Crane Commission.
Because,
You were Israeli?
It seems, and I would like to know what is the status of this document. Is it
You can find it.
available?
Yes, you can find it.
For the diplomats?
Oh, well, no, I mean, it was not published when it was issued in 1921, I think it was finally issued. It wasn't published for another 8 years or so, and then has been snuffed out. So anyone who knows about it can find it. You can Google it and find it. But it just was buried. And in fact, in 1922, the U.S. Congress officially adopted the language of the Balfour Declaration as official U.S. policy in 1922, despite they had just gotten this report that said, you know, that the people wanted independence in that area. So you can find it, but it's lost in history. And when I've been teaching this stuff for 9 years now, I've never run into anybody that's ever heard of it. And so, you know, that's...
So I mean, what kind of, for the search, let's say on the internet or the library, what do you...
Yeah, I've never seen a paper, it exists, it eventually was published on paper actually, but you can find it online. If you Google King Crane Report, you'll find a Wikipedia article on it with a link to the actual text.
Okay.
So, again, who would have thought, right? They go and ask people, what do you want? You want to be independent, you know? You know, who would have thought, right? It's remarkable. So,
Thank you so much, Jeff.
thank you, my pleasure. Really my pleasure.
If you want to be on our email list, there's a sign up here. Also, if you haven't already called your senators, encouraging you to do that, to let them know that you oppose sending $14 billion more to Israel for arms. So make those phone calls. At the very least, we can say put restrictions and don't let them have certain kinds of weapons to use in our name. So encourage you, if you haven't already made those calls, to do that.
I just wanted to say,
Yes.
I called Jack Reed's office this week, and they sent me by email a copy of a letter that the senator sent to Biden about the funding. I highly recommend, I bet it's on his website, it's chilling.
Yeah.
It's